Hi everyone, my name is Jason, aka Bacon Chest, and welcome to my Brawl for All 3 draft analysis video. So, gonna go into sort of a little bit of detail as to what the Brawl for All is, then I'm gonna go into what my plan for this draft was, and mon by mon analysis. So what is the Brawl for All? This is a 128 person tournament organised by the guys from the Hive and the ICBA, with 2 stages of pool play, followed by a final 32 player knockout. This was an open draft format where players could draft 8 mons with 2 Z captains. Unreleased megas, as you might be able to tell from the mons on your screen, were allowed. There were some bans and some allowances. I'll link to Johnny GB's detailed explainer of the rules in the description. So, this is my first time in a draft league format. So, what I'm basically basing my plan off was my knowledge of having watched people like Envy, people like Chimpact, people like A-Drive, who have a lot of experience in this kind of format, and have had quite a bit of success. So I wanted to keep things fairly simple for my first time. I didn't want to go in with a really detailed plan that might be susceptible to being sniped, or a really detailed plan that might get a bit too complicated. I just wanted to keep things fairly simple. So there were 3 things that I think are reasonably important for any draft league to consider. The first is speed control, so having ways to manipulate the speed of your Pokemon, whether that be through setup, whether that be through bypassing speed stat entirely with priority, whether that be through using things like Trick Room or Tailwind to change the nature of the speed tiers that your Pokemon are in. So I thought that was really important. The second thing I wanted was hazards, so both ways to set them up and ways to remove them. I wanted to have a couple of hazard options. I wanted to have the ability to stack hazards a lot, so that powerful mons could sweep through opposing teams, and yeah, I wanted to have a fairly reliable way of getting rid of them. The third thing was cores, so this is trying to have mons that synergize well type-wise, whether that be offensively or defensively. Common cores, of course, being things like Firewater Grass or Fairy Dragon Steel. So, let's go into the mon by mon analysis. So the first mon I selected was Zygarde. Zygarde 50%, so Zygarde Schneck, not Zygarde Doggo. And the reasons for that were a few. I would have probably taken Landorus T. I had pick 3 in my pool, but Landorus T got taken first. Fair enough. Incredibly good mon. But I quite like Zygarde. It has a very good attack and defense stat, pretty good special defense, just overall very, very good bulk. Still quite fast, 95 base speed, although obviously does get outsped by a few things that will KO it, like Latios and that kind of thing. But what it does have is access to 2 excellent setup moves in Coil and Dragon Dance. So Coil and Dragon Dance. Vision failing me there. So those are both really cool, really important moves. Can change, the nature of what can target it, what can counter it, what can check it, depending on which set I'm running. Can also run Substitute to try and avoid status. And it has access to 2 very, very important offensive moves. The first of those being 1,000 Arrows. 1,000 Arrows has obviously been the big game changer for Zygarde moving from Gen 6 into Gen 7, because it now has no real counters, because you can't really safely switch in anything, because everything's going to be taking some damage. And with that attack stat, particularly if you're set up to +1, not a lot is comfortably switching into 1,000 Arrows. The second important move is Extreme Speed. Now, Extreme Speed obviously outspeeds other priority, gives it quite a powerful priority move that hits almost everything neutrally. Obviously can't hit ghosts, but, what can you do? And yeah, it gives it quite a bit of versatility, particularly when running that Coil set, because you don't necessarily need the speed when you can outspeed people and just KO them with Extreme Speed. So yeah, Zygarde I thought was quite a good option. And then offensively, and to some extent defensively, I thought that my next pick supported it really well. So that is Mega Gardevoir. I would have liked something like Skarmory, but that got taken quite early in round 2. So I went for the Fairy side rather than the Steel side of that kind of Fairy Steel Dragon core. So why Mega Gardevoir? It's quite fast with 100 base speed. Amazing special attack stat with an even better ability. 165 special attack, Pixelate Hyper Voice will destroy your life, and I'm really looking forward to punching holes in people's team with it. Crucially, the few mons that wall Mega Gardevoir are completely destroyed by Zygarde, for the most part. So, Steel types, whilst Gardevoir can hit them with Focus Blast, I'd prefer not to rely on that, so having Zygarde is a great option there. And then things like Alolan Muck, or Skuntank, or Drapion, which are Poison Dark types, which, whilst they don't take Hyper Voice all that well, but they are immune to my Psychic attacks, they all get destroyed by Zygarde. So that's great. And yeah, so I thought Mega Gardevoir gave me a few really good options. Also has an excellent move pool can even run things like Destiny Bond. But like has a setup option in Calm Mind. Has some really good coverage options in Energy Ball, Grass Knot. Can run Hidden Powers. Has really good versatility moves in Screens. Will-O-Wisp, Toxic, T-Wave. Wish even, but also things like where was the other one that I was thinking of? Oh, Thunderbolt, of course. Yeah, things like Thunderbolt, so you can hit really bulky water types super effectively. You can hit bulky grass types super effectively with things like Signal Beam. So it's got a few different offensive options, a few niche options, and yeah, overall I thought Gardevoir was a really good pick for this team. So, having got those two, I next wanted to pick up some hazard removal and some hazards. And so, that's what we did for our next two picks. We picked up Zapdos for the Defog and Heatran for the Stealth Rocks. Zapdos, I thought, was quite a good pick. I thought the fact that it was still available was really nice when I got to my round 3 pick. I think it's, it's quite powerful with 125 special attack. I think people tend to underrate Zapdos' offensive prowess. Thunderbolt coming off this thing is quite powerful, whilst it doesn't have access to Air Slash or Hurricane, which is really annoying. It does get Air Cutter. 60 base power is quite low, but if you put a choice specs on it, that's still going to do quite a bit. Flying Stab is largely unresisted, so that's really good. Gets a few quite good recovery options like Extrasensory, Heat Wave, and some utility options like Toxic, U-Turn in case I want to be able to still keep up momentum against ground types. Things like Substitute, like Rest Talk, Light Screen Reflect, those kind of things can be quite useful, and obviously good recovery with Roost, and most importantly has that defog. Gave me pretty good type synergy with the ability to resist those steel hits that Gardevoir was going to struggle with. So yeah, I thought Zapdos was quite good. Also, a little bit of a stally mon, but overall I was just getting it for that hazard removal, and also like pretty good defenses, pretty good typing. Overall, really solid. Next one was Heatran. I was hoping to get Volcanion, but it got sniped. So that was a bit unfortunate, but that's okay. So yeah, we picked up Heatran. Heatran has that 4 times ground weakness, which is a real problem, but gets so many resists in exchange for that. Particularly Ice, I thought was a really important resist to have here, given I'd taken 2 mons that were weak to Ice already. Really good mixed defenses, incredible special attack stat, decent physical attacks, so you can make use of moves like Stone Edge, which is quite useful, and yeah, really good options. Can run Specs, can run Scarf, can run defensive, can run offensive Stealth Rocks. Yeah, really versatile one, really good. These two, I think, are sort of the glue of the team. They're probably going to be brought most weeks. No matter what my offensive options are, just because they give me some really good, fairly offensive pivots. So I thought that, yeah, they were some pretty good options. And that also completed my Fairy Dragon Steel Core. So next I wanted a Water type and a Grass type, in order to switch in really well to Water attacks, in order to switch into Electric attacks, in order to, yeah, just give me some defensive pivots, and also I wanted, a little bit more versatility. These two mons provide that in bucket loads. Slowbro is an excellent pivot with Regenerator, excellent ability. Passive recovery is really helpful in any sense, whether that comes through Regenerator or Natural Cure. They're both incredible abilities. Has access to Calm Mind, so can set up. Probably not going to be doing that very often, but might be the case. Really good coverage again. That's something I really value on in a draft league where you're never going to be able to have all, what is it, 17, 18 types available in 8 mons. You just physically can't have all those types unless you know, are running something like Sylvally. But, you know, if you can get mons that have really good coverage options, you don't necessarily need all the types, particularly when they're, you know, reasonably powerful. Like, 100 special attack is not to be sneezed at. Particularly when it gets access to things like Ice Beam, but also things like Blizzard. So if I'm missing out on a 2-hit KO with Ice Beam, I can maybe pick that up with Blizzard. Same with, you know, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Scald, Surf, etc., etc. So yeah, Slowbro has really good recovery with access to Slack Off. Good status options with Toxic and T-Wave. Overall, I thought it was a really good pickup for this team. Gave me some good fighting type switch in particular. Virizion gave me a bit more speed. I didn't have anything at this point above base 100 speed. Virizion's base 108, so that's quite good. Gave me a knockoff switch in, which is really valuable on any team. And particularly the fact that it's not only a knockoff switch in, but a knockoff switch in that sets up on knockoff. Has 2 different forms of setup, which is really cool. You know, like Zygarde, both physical forms of setup. This is special and physical. I really love mixed attackers. Not that powerful before it sets up, but it has really powerful moves to make up for that. So things like Focus Blast, Close Combat, even like something like Energy Ball or Seed Bomb. You might want on Superpower if you don't want those special defense drop. Some pretty decent coverage options, like pretty much all the coverage you're going to need. So things like Stone Edge, X Scissors, and Headbutt, and you know, Hidden Power Ice if you're going the special route. Incredible special defense was the main thing here. Yes, it gave me a third 4 times weakness. I was well aware of that, but I figured mostly that meant that players weren't necessarily going to be able to know which hidden powers they wanted to run, because you can't run all of them. So I wasn't too worried about that. So yeah, having completed our Firewater Grass core, having completed our Fairy Dragon Steel core, and having picked up some hazards and some hazard removal, what I then wanted to get was another hazard option, and then I wanted another good mixed attacker and a bit more speed control. So these last 2 mons give me all of those things. The first one was Tornadus. I could not go past Tornadus when it was available. This thing has monstrous attack, monstrous special attack, an excellent speed tier that outspeeds the plethora of base 110s, so Latias, Latios, Mega Gallade, Gengar, and it can hit. The notable thing about that is it can hit all of those super effectively with Knockoff, U-Turn, and Hurricane, or Acrobatics, depending on what kind of set you want to run. And, you know, it has all those options. It has things like Crunch, so if it's a Mega Latios, then I can hit that. Or, you know, Mega Venusaur I can hit with, like, Air Slash, that kind of thing. It has Extra Sensory, it has Hammer Arm, it has Superpower, it has just so many options, things like Sludge Bomb. Part of the, and so this is something I haven't actually mentioned yet, so the 2 Zmons I selected for this team were Heatran and Tornadus. Heatran, obviously, fairly obvious. Z Bloom Doom is incredible. If I want to run things like Rockinium Z or Fightinium, no, not Fighting, yeah, no, you don't get any fighting moves, do you? No, but things like Rocket EMZ or Ground EMZ for Earthquake, Earth Power, Stone Edge, Ancient Power even, maybe I doubt I would run that, but, you know, who knows, it might be useful in a particular circumstance. But mostly Z Bloom Doom to take on water types is what you're going to want there. With Tornadus, it's, you never know what you're going to get. Z Air Slash could be quite good, or, sorry, not Z Air Slash, Z Hurricane could be quite good. Z Sludge Bomb, things like Z Dark Pulse, Z Crunch, Z Focus Blast. The crucial thing there, especially with Focus Blast and Hurricane, is that I can guarantee a hit. Often the risk of running those moves is that you're not guaranteed to hit. The fact that I can at least get one turn where I'm guaranteed to get off a massive hit with a Pokemon that outspeeds almost everything in the game was really attractive as an option to me. Has some really good utility options, particularly Tailwind gave me that speed control I was talking about earlier. So Prankster, Tailwind, excellent. Prankster Taunt to stop things from setting up. Prankster Sub to maybe activate a Berry, which can be particularly useful given I've got access to Stab Acrobatics. The other ability that it has, Defiant, could be useful as well. if I elect to use our next Pokemon to hazard stack, and then my opponent's hazard removal option is Defog, I can take advantage of that with Tornadus, which can be really good. So, moving on to that last one, that is Frostlass. Frostlass gives me a fast Spiker that has Ice and Ghost Stab. Those were really, really important because they let me hit things like Landorus T, Dragonite, opposing Zygarde super effectively, as well as bulky Psychic types that were otherwise a real problem for this team. Tornadus can obviously hit them with Knock Off and U-Turn, not hugely strong moves, so I was a little bit worried about that. But even though Frostlass isn't that strong, if it's hitting things super effectively, it's going to hurt them. Yeah, has access to Taunt and Destinymon and Spikes, and between those you can hopefully keep your hazards up relatively easily. Good stab options, not a huge amount of coverage, but doesn't necessarily need it because it's a mon that's probably going to come in, set up spikes, and then die reasonably quickly. Probably going to run Focus Sash, that kind of thing. Great speed tier. So my last 3 mons, having gone from having nothing above base 100 with my first 5, we picked up 3 mons with all over base 100. 108, 110, 111. I thought that gave me a speed advantage over most of the teams I'm going to be encountering. Most of the mons above that tend to be like fast but very frail and not necessarily all that powerful. So like things like Heatran and Zapdos and Slowbro and Virizion can kind of pivot around on them. So yeah, so that's the team. Yeah, we've gone through the Z-Mons, we've gone through all 8 mons, cool. Right, so this should be really fun. Obviously, as I've said, it's my first time in a Draft League format, so this should be a really good learning experience. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.